God is about to show us something about the tongue. And I want you to know that this is going to really speak to your heart this morning. So I want to read this passage to you about the tongue. This tiny little instrument that we have in our mouths, which I don't want you to stick out right now. Just think about it. Just listen to what God says today in this incredibly practical series. All right, James chapter 3. I know you'll beg my pardon if I stop once in a while. Not many of you should presume to be teachers, because you know that those who teach will be judged more harshly, strictly. That's a word for you, parents. You are teachers. That's a word for you adults. It's a word for me, pastor. Not many of you should presume to be teachers, because you know that those who teach will be judged. We're going to discover why. We all stumble in many ways. So that if anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. Now, folks, I want you to just watch me. I'm going to stop right there, because I want to make an announcement here today. All of us are talkers. Some just a little more than others, right? I think we're going to see a lot of nudging going on in here today. All right? All of us are talkers, some just a little more than others. Even silent people talk. A lot. A lot. Silence can speak more loudly than sound. Sometimes you say more things even when the bell rings in the middle of a worship service than those who do not. Now, here's what James is going to show us. This is incredible. I just want you to know this. He makes a statement. He says, I want to warn you. So can you all feel it? I feel it terribly, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm teaching. He says, watch out, Don Wilton. You're a believer, you're a Christian, and you claim to be a teacher. You are going to be judged more harshly than anyone else. And then he immediately comes in and he says, before you leave the room and before you give up, I want you to know all people stumble. It's not making an excuse. And what he tells us here in verse 2, he is saying, in a sense, this sentence here, if anyone is never at fault. That is to say, if there is anyone here who claims that they never say anything that they ought not to say, I'd like to meet you. Because there is no way that you have the capability to control your tongue in and of yourself. So what I'd really like to do, which I'm not going to do today, I'd like to walk up and down and go up the stairs and say to every, do you know Jesus Christ? If you say to me, yes, I'm going to tell you that you've got the greatest means available to you to prove who you are in Christ, because God will control your tongue. But if you were to say today, I do not know Jesus Christ, I want you to know you are proving to yourself every day that you don't know him, because you have no control over your own tongue. And what James is saying here is, he's saying this tiny little instrument is actually the billboard of who you are in Christ. Let's read on. Verse 3. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Now watch this, folks. You're about to hear something. Have you ever had someone say to you, listen, sure, I cuss every now and again, but that's just the way I am? They're actually telling you the truth. That is just the way they are. There's going to be a challenge in a minute, because some are going to look at me and say, Pastor, wait a minute, what comes out of my mouth, the Bible's going to show you that what you are saying, what comes out of your mouth, is the very means by which you can know whether or not you belong to Jesus Christ. So it's not okay for Christians to cuss. Any questions here? Anyone want to argue? It's not okay.